Hello, in this video I'm going to show you some Ansible best practices on how I set up my Ansible installation for a new project. This is focused mainly around network automation, but it will also work exactly the same for any Ansible project you're doing. Okay, so let's get into this. So I have Ansible installed currently on an Ubuntu machine, and I'm going to start a new project. So if I want to start a new project, what I would normally do is create a specific folder for that project. So I'm using Visual Studio Code here, and I would go into Ansible and I would say a new folder, and I would call this Customer 1. Now within that Customer 1 folder, I need to then copy in some group vars and some host vars and config file. There's a lot of things that need doing manually, so I've created a playbook to do that for me automatically. I'm going to walk you through my automatic playbook to set up Ansible for a new customer. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is create a new file. This is going to be our playbook. So the playbook is going to be called new project.yaml. And I've already got 2 seconds. Let's just delete. Okay, I'm going to delete that one and we'll start again. Okay, so in my Ansible folder, I'm going to create a new file, and this is called new project. So this is my folder creation playbook, and we're going to use the Ansible file module. We're going to use the Ansible copy module. So 3 dashes and a description of what the playbook does. So this is a playbook to set up folder structures for new project. Okay, so start off with a name for the playbook. And what I want to do is to get the playbook to prompt me to enter the name for the customer for the project, and then it's going to take that name and use it throughout the settings. So let's just put prompt for project, folder name, whatever. This is just a description, and we don't want to run this against anything, so this is going to be localhost. And then now I'm going to use a vars prompt. So this is going to be a prompt that when you run the playbook, it'll ask me to enter some data. So let's put the prompt in. So we're going to use the prompt, and I'm going to put in here just name of project stroke customer. And I'm not bothered if this is private, so private no. And then tasks, we need to create a folder based on the input that we get from there. So let's just take that out a minute, and I'll just run this and I'll show you what it does so far. So we do Ansible playbook, new hyphen project.yaml. So this prompts me for the name of the customer. So I'll put bank in here, and that's that. So it hasn't done anything because I haven't told it what to do with that data, but the prompt is working. That's fine. So now we're going to create a task which is going to create a directory based on the input of what we put into this var. So we've now got a variable called whatever the name of the customer is, and we're going to use that to create the folder. So tasks name, so these are all descriptions. So this, what I'm typing here, this is what gets shown up in here. So create project directory. At the same time I'm doing this, I'm also going to drop in the group vars folder as well. Do 2 birds with 1 stone. I'll talk about the group vars in a second. So we're using the file module and the path. So this is saying where do you want to create this folder? Now, I would like to create the folder in my Ansible folder. So let's just do present working directory. Now, this is currently my present working directory. Now, we'll take this for now, and then I'll show you how to improve on this. So this is currently where I am, the folder that I'm sat in, and I want to create the folder in here. So we put a slash, and then we put 2 curly braces, and then I'm going to put in the project in here. OJ. That actually should have been project in there. Okay, so this is the vars prompt, and the variable that we're going to get is called project. Then we're going to create a directory, and it's going to go into the home Roger network programmability scripts Ansible, and then whatever I type in to the above, it will use that. And then also, while we're here, I want to create a folder called group vars. So we're going to put that into quotes like this. And then to make it do a directory, I put state directory. And as I'm running it on my local host, and I want it to work on the local host, I'm going to put delegate to localhost. Okay, so let's run that, see what it does. I'll just up arrow now. I get prompted again, so I'm going to say bank. And what that did, we got to here, it's now created me a folder here. You can see I've got a folder called bank, and in that folder we've now got another folder which is called group vars. So that's great. So that's initially created me a good starting point. It's used the Ansible variable that we input here, it saved the data, and then it's created me a folder. So where I mentioned that we can make this a bit more efficient is that if we look here, I'm going to go through the path of where I'm going to create these files. Now I'm going to create a lot more files and folders in this playbook, and every time I want to create it in the same place, so it wants to go in here, but I don't want to be typing this every single time. I'll end up with about 10 instances of this file path in the playbook, and then if I reuse this playbook somewhere else, it's not going to work because it will be on a different machine, and then I'm going to have to want to go in and change this every time it occurs within the playbook. So what we can do is put this line in here. So I've typed an extra line in there, which is vars, and then directory. So this is where I define my variable that I want to call directory, and this is its value. So now I can replace all of the file path in here and just put the word, we'll space it just so you can see, directory. So now that line there is the same as it was before. So this is saying create a folder in the place where I've defined that is directory, in the folder which is the project variable that we got earlier on, and then create a folder called group vars. And then if this playbook is reused, we could then change this line once here, and it would then ripple through the entire playbook quite happily. So let's delete the bank folder, and we'll run the playbook again. Make sure that works. So it did. So that's created a folder called bank in exactly the same place and created my group vars folder. Okay, so that's that little bit done. Now, another thing I do as an Ansible best practice is I have the Ansible.cfg file. I have some specific variables in there which are custom to my projects, And currently the default Ansible CFG, so if I show you where that lives, so that actually lives, if we go back to the root here, no, so if we go into cd etc/Ansible, this is the default location where Ansible is stored. Now there are two files in here which are the default files. So that's the host file and the ansible.cfg, so the Ansible config file. Now if you didn't create your host file and your ansible.config file in your project folder, Ansible would go here and look for these default options. But this gives me the flexibility to create custom settings for each project. And in particular, the host file is very important to have your host file specific per project. You don't want a host file on your machine that encompasses every host you've used for every project you're working with. So it's a good Ansible best practice to have a custom host file and a custom ansible.cfg file. So what I'm going to do is within my Ansible folder here, I do have my ansible.cfg file. And I'll just tell you the quick settings. So this is telling the playbooks that the inventory for this setup is going to live in /hosts. So it's saying there is another host file and that's where it lives. Host key checking is false. So for this playbook, I'm not bothered about checking host keys. This is for network automation, as I've said before. And mainly this is lab devices. So I'm not too concerned at the moment about checking the host keys. I've got retrial files enabled because false, so that means if a playbook fails, it's not going to keep creating lots of retry files. Forks is 20, that's just an arbitrary number, you can take that up and down as you need. Gathering equals explicit, this just actually turns off gathering facts for everything. I tell Ansible where my Python interpreter is, and I silence some action warnings. So that's my basic Ansible config file. So what I want to do within my new project here, this bank project, is I just want to copy this entire file and drop it in there. So if we go back to our setup here, and now we're going to use the copy module, so the Ansible copy module. Now that's going to be name. And I'm going to say create, actually, no, we're there, so copy ansible.cfg. And again, we use the file, no, sorry, the copy module, looking at the wrong script. So this is copying, and we define two variables, source and destination. So what do we want to copy and where do we want to copy it to? So as I've done above, I can now just go directory. So I know exactly where that is, that's the Ansible, and then I want to copy it into my bank folder, so I can just type project in there. And then I want to do the ansible.cfg, this is the file name. And then the destination is dest, and the same again, double curly braces, directory. In actual fact, that one is incorrect. This just needs to be copy from my local directory, ansible.cfg, into, now we put it into the project folder /ansible.cfg. And again, delegate to localhost. So what this little bit's going to do is now copy this ansible.cfg file, and it's going to put a copy of it into the bank folder. So let's just jump back into my terminal here. So we're going to run that again. Ansible playbook, new project. And what you'll also notice is I'm continually adding the folder bank, and every time, no, we got an error here. Let's have a look. Source directory. Alright, I've spelt Ansible wrong here. Let's go in, check that. Here we go. Ansible.config, Ansible.config. This should run now. No, still got an error. Missing quotes somewhere. Okay, double got quotes in there. Ansible's quite good at telling you what's going on. And we're really having fun today. Okay, that one's staring me in the face. There's a colon there. Perfect. So, bank again. Copy, copy, copy. So you can see that the bits that have already been done are green, and then the bit that's now yellow, this is a change. So we've now copied the Ansible.cfg file in. So now if I go into my bank folder, we can see I've got my groups vars, and now I've got the Ansible Cfg folder which has been copied in. Now there's one more that I need to copy in, and that is the host file. So I've got a sort of sample host file. This is a host file that I use for a lot of my lab equipment, but the format is the same. So we're just going to copy one of that in. So we've got a sort of reference host file. So we're going to go back to the playbook. So this one is copy a sample host file. Using the copy module again. And source. Now, what you can see from here now is once you've got the basic idea of copying files and folders, you can copy anything from anywhere, remote sites, remote servers onto this server, from a GitHub repository, anywhere you like. Directory. Okay, Ansible. So this one is now going to be hosts. So that's going to be my host file, and the destination is going to be same again. You can see once you've created your variable, very easy to utilize that and call on it throughout the playbooks. Directory. This one's project, and that one is going to be hosts. Okay. Delegate to localhost again. Great. So that's copying the host file, and then there's one more file which I always copy into a sample project, and that is the all.yaml. So this is my standard group vars, and this is an all.yaml. So this is the variable file which exists for every device if nothing else is configured further down. So unless you've got other group vars, in my case I've got NXOS and Sandbox here, so these are more specific hardware vendors, but if it's nothing is defined anywhere, this is the default values that the playbook will use. And you can see I've just got the Roger and Cisco as password here. So this is all practice, this isn't real world ready. I'm just going to copy that now. So this one's going to be copy the all.yaml file. Copy. Now we can literally take that same structure, but need to. So this is in group vars / all.yaml, and it's going to go into directory project group vars all.yaml. So let's just recap there. We're going to create a playbook, and it's going to copy in the host file, the Ansible config file, create a group vars folder, and then copy the all.yaml file into there. So these are the basic Ansible best practices that I always do when I start a new project. And before we run this, I'm just going to delete the bank folder. So that's gone forever. And now when we run the playbook this time, we know that it's clean. So I'm going to say bank again. Did that delete? Oh, hold on. Permanently. Okay, that's gone. So same again, bank. Okay, another error. Copy the sample host file. So where we got an error there. Source or content is required, and I've missed the colon again. And I've also missed something else here. As you can see, the linting here is not making this go orange. Okay, you've probably seen that before me, so that is just there. A space. Okay, so this should run now. And we're going to I'll put in bank 2 this time so we see it is different. So there we go, it's created. No, copy all.yaml has failed. Let's see why that failed. Source of content is required. Yeah, colon in there. Space in there. Okay. Bank 2. Green, 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 yellow. There we go. So now I've got my bank 2 folder. In that folder, there's group vars. In there, there's an all.yaml. And I've got a config file and a host file. And I will just touch on one more thing here. You remember at the beginning, so where we created this vars here, and I created the directory. So that's within the playbook. That doesn't actually have to exist within the playbook. We can do that in our group vars file. So if we go into our global group vars, you can see I've actually created it and I've specified it here as well. So I just type in the name of the variable and then its value. And now it's not actually defined anywhere in the playbook, but Ansible will always look in the group vars and the host vars folder for all the variables. So if it's defined in there somewhere, it will find it. And we run this once more, you can see that it still works. It's picked out all the information. And I've now got a bank 3 folder. So I hope that was helpful. It certainly helps me sort of standardize on new folder constructions for new projects. I wouldn't necessarily create it in this folder, so it doesn't have to go in here. It could literally go in your home drive. So let's just do that. So if we go into the group vars here, so I could literally say, make that home Roger. So in my home directory, run that again. Make this one bank 5. And got an issue here. Take that line out, try that again. Bank 5. Okay, so getting a bit ahead of myself there. So I took that out, but what we need to do now is actually create another one called source directory, which is going to be this. So this is where it's pulling stuff to. So this is my source directory. We've got one variable called source directory, and then another one is going to be destination directory. that one is going to be home/Roger. Okay, so if we go back into the playbook, so if I'm creating so we're saying create it. So where I'm going to create it, this is going to be destination directory. And we're copying, so the source is going to be source directory. That one is going to be destination directory. Just checking I did. Source dest, that's it. Okay. Source dest, and then again, so copying source directory, destination directory, source. If any of you have got any other tips on how to get yourself started with Ansible, how to automate creation of folder structures, then please drop it in the comments. I'd be really interested to see it. My name is Roger Perkin. I am a CCIE. I'm a network engineer based in the UK, and I perform most of my Ansible for network automation tasks. So stay tuned, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. So that's done. Let's try this once more, and we'll run it up. So I'm going to call this bank 6 now. No, still, so the error was, so this is where Ansible now says the task includes an option with an undefined variable. The area was dest, is an undefined line 15. So if we go back into line 15, so it's saying that it doesn't like dest directory. Not sure what that is. So let's go into all dest-directory, home/Roger, source-directory. That's fine. I know the error. Sorry, it's the variables here. I've put a dash in it, and it needed to be an underscore. So you can't have a dash in a variable name. Let's just change these to underscores, or you can just take it into one word completely. That one's underscore. Underscore, underscore, and then let's go into our all.yaml file and make that an underscore. Now this should work. So let's call it bank 10. So that's now created it, but if we open up a folder here, I'm just going to go into my home directory. Let's go into here. Should have a, there we go. So here I've got the bank 5 and the bank 10 and all the files and folders and hosts. So that's it. Got there in the end. That's my automated playbook live coding video showing you some Ansible best practices that I do. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye.